Rangers have a new manager, and that new manager is Steven Gerrard. He signed a 4-year deal. They were talking about these positive talks that they'd had. They must have been very positive because he has signed on the dotted line. He's the new manager of Rangers. Michael Stewart, a great pundit for BT Sport and also an ex-player in his own right, joins me now to talk about it. Michael, what is Steven Gerrard walking into? This is a massive job, right?
He certainly is walking into a massive job, and it's one that comes with a lot of pressure, a lot of focus, and I think for you guys down south, there's a recognition that Rangers are a huge club, but I don't think there is also the understanding that the amount of focus that is on Rangers, because you're talking about Rangers and Celtic predominantly, two massive clubs where a lot of the media focus is on, whereas obviously down south there is a number of bigger clubs where the attention is almost spread out. So he's going to walk in. The expectations are not immediately to go and challenge Celtic, but very quickly, and because of the excitement of his appointment, that expectation can quickly rise, and ultimately that's where the pressure comes from.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget that this league is so much tougher than people give it credit for, and certainly for a team like Rangers, who, again, from people that don't know about Scottish football properly, will go, there's only 2 teams in Scotland, but there isn't. Rangers have struggled since they've moved up to then challenge Celtic. Just want to go back to that pressure element of it, because in his press conference, Gerrard was talking about how he thrives on pressure, he's used to it, he's been under intense pressure since he left school, and I think all of that is certainly true.
Yeah.
But just explain to people who haven't sort of been around that city, around that bubble, it's a different kind of pressure, isn't it?
Steven Gerrard will have experienced it, as he says there, from school. He's lived in a city which is football mad, but it's not the whole nation's focus. Whereas in Glasgow, it's what makes the city beat. It's the real essence of what makes it tick. You can't walk down the street without being either heralded as a genius or being ridiculed as a failure. It's really those two stark contrasts of either it's a massive success or it's a huge failure, and there is a constant speculation. There's constant chat. There's constant discussions, in the media, in the pubs, in the restaurants. And of course, when you're somebody of Steven Gerrard's standing in the game globally, then that focus is intensified within the pressure pot of Scottish football in Glasgow.
Absolutely. There's been other ex-Liverpool midfielders that have gone to Scotland.
Yeah.
And I'm intrigued to know how you think this one will play out, because John Barnes, it didn't go very well at all for him at Celtic, but then you've got Graham Souness, Liverpool midfielder, captain, went to Rangers, and one thing that Graham Souness did brilliantly was he brought in players that he knew that had maybe played at what might be seen as a high level, Ray Wilkins or Terry Butcher, and brought them in, and that made a massive difference. Do you expect Steven Gerrard to do the same thing as Graham Souness did, and bring in those high-profile players that he knows from around the world?
As much as you talk about the attraction of going to Rangers and playing for under a manager or a guy of the standing of Steven Gerrard, money talks at the end of the day. And the globalisation of football has meant that countries like Scotland or Netherlands or Belgium, where you have massive clubs, Ajax, Anderlecht, Celtic, Rangers, huge clubs, but the attraction, the money isn't the same as the big teams, the big leagues in Europe. So it's not to say that inevitably means that Steven Gerrard is going to be a John Barnes, because I think Steven Gerrard, he has a substance about him. His knowledge of the game is quite clear for everybody to see.
Do you think there's a
massive challenge?
Do you think there's a different route for him to take then? He's been Liverpool's under-18 manager. Not only the Liverpool squad, that under-18 squad, but the other squads that they would have played. Do you think that's without the money that Rangers used to have? Do you think that might be a route that he should go down?
You've got to have good experienced players there to bring along the youngsters. But I would imagine, very much in the same vein as what Brendan Rodgers has done on occasions. You see Patrick Roberts from Man City that he's brought in on loan, but he's got to get the foundations in place first. And I think the foundations have got to be built on some good quality, experienced players. And this is the nub of it, in that costs money. And Rangers at the moment is a case of where's the money coming from? Because inevitably, Steven Gerrard is taking this job on the back of promises and assurances that he will be given funds.
Yeah.
And this is what's so intriguing, is that where's that money coming from? Because it's not immediately obvious.
So the word I've got written down here in my notes is patience. Now,
it doesn't happen.
So yeah, I mean,
it's in short supply.
Is it? So because I think he's a new manager. I think people will see the credentials that he should have as someone who's, he's gone on. He wants to do his kind of apprenticeship at Liverpool, which is great. He's been a captain. He's been a leader. He's been in pressure situations. All of those things, which are great. But I think in modern football, maybe less so than sort of back in the day, those guys who are great captains don't always become great managers, and especially at a place where where it is a goldfish bowl. Do you think he'll? What amount of patience do you think the Rangers fans will give him? Do you think he'll get any?
Yeah, of course he'll get some, but as I said to you earlier, it can quickly disappear.
Is that 6 months? Is that a year? What is it?
I think it's all dependent on whether they see genuine progress. Over a number of years now, Rangers they've taken gambles on Pedro Caixinha last year, which was an unmitigated disaster. Before Mark Warburton, I think if the Rangers fans see progress, they see a better consistency in that they are secure in second place, then I would imagine that there will be some goodwill. But if he's to go into the Celtic games, and if he is on the wrong end of a drubbing like has happened on a number of occasions this season, then that goodwill and patience can quickly evaporate.
So what is success next season for Rangers?
Well, a great question. It's very much subjective, isn't it? What is success? For me, I think that if Rangers were in a position where they were as far ahead as Celtic are from the teams that are challenging for second at the moment, Hibs, Aberdeen and Rangers, if Rangers were in second place with that same gap or buffer from the other teams, then I think you could regard that as success. And also, if they were able to try and lay a glove on Celtic and perhaps get to a cup final. They've not been to a cup final since they got back up into the top flight.
Yeah.
And obviously the last one they had was when they played Hibs in the Scottish Cup final, and they ended up on the wrong end of a 3-2 defeat there. Yeah. So even if they were able to get to a cup final, to bring some sort of positivity back, but the big thing is making sure that second place in the league is secure.
And final question, what advice would you give Steven Gerrard, the new manager of Rangers?
Don't live in Glasgow.
right, commute in, decent commute in. Michael, thank you so much for chatting to us. Let us know your thoughts. Steven Gerrard's taken his first managerial job at Glasgow Rangers. Has he made the right decision? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, click like. Most importantly, subscribe to Ball Street. We'll see you soon.